welcome to the From Ashes Universal podcast, where we uplift, we rebuild, empower, and inspire through the positive power of sharing stories. If you have any inspirational stories, you can engage the Beauty from Ashes Universal podcast through the social media pages pinned below the screen, and you will be featured in our subsequent episodes.
Today we are going to talk about fear. We all experience fear at some point in our lives. Now fear comes from our mindset, but it triggers a physical reaction in our bodies. Millions of potentials have been buried by fear. Fear has prevented so many people from stepping into their potential. You could have been more, you should have been more if not for that fear. Now you are either driven by two things, faith or fear. And of all the things that God hates is fear. That is why you have to face your fears. Great destinies have been ruined by fear. What if they don't like me? Am I good enough? Am I okay? Am I beautiful? That is what fear does. It cripples people. Fear has stopped so many people out of their purposes. And the only language that fear speaks is lies. Confidence is, even if they don't like me, then I will be okay. I want to remind you that you will never be everyone's cup of tea. There are some people who are going to like you, there are some people who are not going to like you. And the sooner you understand that, the better you become. Now you are either driven by faith or fear. Those driven by fear never start or finish anything significant in their lives. Those driven by fear will always hide their potential. Those driven by fear quit when the going gets tough. Even if you started something and you failed before, doesn't mean that you shouldn't try it again. Doesn't mean that you'll never achieve it again. We learn more from failure than we learn from success. Allow me to borrow the words of the legendary Confucius, who once said that the greatest glory is not in never falling, but rising every time we fall. I also want you to understand that dreamers fail multiple times, but failures only fail once. Now I want you to see failure as an indicator that you're making progress. I want you to stab your fears to death and summon courage. It is not death that kills, but it is the fear that kills. Fear has prevented so many people from stepping into their potential. Fear has made so many people bury what they should release. Silence that voice of the enemy. Silence that voice of fear that tells you that you are inadequate. Silence that voice of fear that tells you that you will never amount to anything. Now, many years ago, I was also a victim of fear. I allowed fear to control me, and it was so overwhelming. I remember this day. I was so afraid that I couldn't tell my teacher I wanted to go and use the washrooms. I was so afraid. That is what fear can do. That is embarrassing, right? Now, even before I started this podcast, I had to face my fear. I remember I felt that my voice was not good enough. There's this day I asked my producer, can we do anything to alter my voice? And my producer told me, no, there's nothing that you can do about it. So I just had to face my fears. Now, fear can be so crippling, it can be so overwhelming, but it is such a small spirit. Fear is such a small demon. Don't let it conquer you. Conquer it instead. You have to confront that fear. You have to face that fear. The move that you are scared to make might be your greatest game changer. Now, the worst thing in life is to see somebody do something that you are afraid to do, and now it is too late that you cannot do it. Now, to anyone who is watching me and you are struggling with fear, I want you to know that you are not alone. I was once like you, worse than you. I was worse than what you would consider your present fear. Don't let that fear paralyze you, whether it's fear of trying, fear of starting another job, fear of quitting a toxic relationship, fear of the unknown, or any other fear. Don't let it stop you. Now, I've seen people who are scared to make moves. And the reason why they're scared to make moves is because they're afraid that people will laugh at them, people will criticize them, so they rather die with their gift. I want you to understand that people will always have opinions about you, whether positive or negative, and that should not become an hindrance. When you find where God called you to be, stay there. There is need for who you are. Find fulfillment and satisfaction just doing you. It may not be popular, it may not be liked, but just do you. Stop comparing yourself to others. Comparison is a thief of joy. The sun and the moon are both stars, and they shine at their own time. Now, there is no fear in reality. Fear is just coming from your mindset, but there is no fear in reality. And the way to overcome that fear is by facing it. If you don't face it, then you will not conquer. If you don't face your fear, then there is no way you're going to overcome. Now, this was just to challenge you to face that fear, conquer that fear. You can change it, you can do it, and you can face it. Until next time, let me see you at the top. Kindly like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment. Thanks.